Hello and welcome to Hot Money on Bloomberg Quint Live, India's first digital live streaming business news service. This is a show which gets you a complete wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in trade. I'm Darshan Mehta. Let's welcome our experts then. Vinit Bolinchkar of Ventura Securities and Ritesh Ashar of KIFS TRADECAPITal joined us on the show. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on the show. Today on Hot Money, we'll discuss stocks like the mid-cap and small-cap end of the market. We ask our guests to give us a pick which they believe could be a good investment purpose. We talk about the pharma stocks. We talk about HCC. HCC has been rallying. What's happening there? And we ask our guests in terms of a top short they believe or a stock they believe is overvalued and can correct from these levels. Probably even an FNO stock. That is something that we are asking our guests. But let's start with the show, and the first stock that we're asking is, we'll start with the picks this time. We're asking our guests, since the market and the mid caps have now again started rising, the small caps have started rising, is there any stock in that end of the market which our viewers can take for a positional bet? So Vinit, I'll start with you. Which stock would you recommend and why?
So we like Suven Life Sciences.
Okay, on the mid cap.
On the mid cap space. There are a couple of things out there. Is that the growth is very well, the results are also good, and there is an option play out here, in the sense that the CRAMS and the CDMO business is doing very well. They are well playing out. They are at a discount to the other players like Divi's and Syngene, and if they are able to get successful trials of their phase 2 for their Alzheimer's product 501, then I think there will be a lot of in-licensing opportunity, out-licensing opportunity, where they would have money coming in. And in case that product does not fail, because it's very high risk, Alzheimer's, not many people have been able to get it right. So there are 4-5 molecules out there, but of which only 2 are now under development. So even if that were to fail, they are already taken the hit in the P&L. So I think the R&D expenses would fall down and the EPS would go up. So on either ways, I think it's a very good play. And the environment for research has really picked up. Okay, so I believe that this is a good story available at a discount to peers and having better ROIC metrics. So it becomes a very steady compounder kind of play, in my opinion.
Okay, that's the view that's coming on Suven Life. They've been taking a lot of patents as such. What's the trigger point for that? Will any of them convert into revenues going ahead?
So 501 is the most promising. That can happen only once in July 19 when the results are out, of their human trials. So until that point, there's no point commenting on that. These are all long gestation projects. They've got 10 molecules, but they're in fairly extended levels of early stage development. So we cannot build much into that.
And what about valuations compared to the other peers?
Valuations are they're at least quite cheap. I think that there could be a good 15 to 20% catch-up upside in Suven. Okay. Purely based on that multiple.
Okay, so Suven Life is something that our guest that Vinit likes at this point of time. Ritesh, which stock are you recommending in the small or the mid-cap size of the market?
See, overall, if you look at it, the way the market has performed, and simultaneously the Nifty P has crossed about 28 and Bank Nifty is performing about 56. So I personally feel the frontliner has performed better. Now it is a time to mid-cap and the small cap to start performing better. But in this market scenario, I personally feel that the way the rupee is depreciating and at the same time, the crude oil price is also a big concern for India. So I feel pharma and the mid-cap IT is going to be a strong bet in terms of sector specific. In terms of stock specific, my bet will be on the Torrent Pharma. Okay. The reason of Torrent Pharma is very clear, because the pharmacy business, it is growing like 14% in terms of worldwide. Simultaneously, if we'll compare the world population, it is growing by almost 1.24%. Okay. At the same time, aging is also matter. If we're looking at 28% of the total world population is coming with the range of 65 to 80. So simultaneously, the requirement in terms of pharmacy business, it is going to be consistent and it is going to be boom from next 3 years. At the same time, as I said, the currency is benefited to in terms of pharma and the mid-cap IT, because the depreciation in the currency, it will be more benefited to the exporters. And the pharma business, especially, it is all about exporting more and more business. So Torrent Pharma, it is a diversified in terms of Germany, in terms of Brazil also for this matter. Simultaneously, if you look at the profit margin, it is almost growing by 25% CAGR. So in terms of order, it is almost sales number number, it is also growing by 36% year on year. So sales numbers are good in terms of Torrent Pharma. In terms of profit margins are also fantastic, and simultaneously rupee dollar is also benefited to the overall company perspective.
Okay, a couple of questions on Torrent Pharma. This time the numbers have come out stronger on account of the Unichem acquisition that is there. Secondly, the base now will become much higher. Do you think that they will be able to maintain their run rate on that front?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, the sales number what we are expecting in USA, it is almost expected to growing by 18%. If I'm talking about overall world economy, it is almost growing by 18% in the pharmacy. And simultaneously, at the same time, the 8% they are expecting profit from the Germany. Okay. So Germany and Brazil is also going to add their kitty in terms of overall profit margins of the company. So overall number has reported it is fantastic, and the projection of the company for next 3 years is also fantastic. So I personally feel in pharma and especially Torrent Pharma, this will be the right time to get into.
Okay, Torrent, not the cheapest pharma stock. It is as expensive as a Sun Pharma, but now you have the headwind because if you see the numbers, Brazil didn't do well for them. There was a little bit of issue as far as Germany is concerned, but they've said that they will rectify it. But still, are you optimistic that growth will come in? US obviously will grow in because of a smaller base. Correct. But will they be able to play catch up to the other way?
See, definitely, if we precisely get into Germany, no doubt till yet it was not performing well the way it should be up to the mark. But the management has declared that at least in this year they will target a single-digit growth in Germany itself. So I think the restructuring in Germany and Brazil is definitely benefited to the company.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in as far as the mid-cap stocks are concerned. Torrent Pharma and Suven Life are the stocks that we've discussed. The next stock we want to discuss is a stock that was up 20% in trade yesterday, and that was HCC. Let's see what it's done today. It was up 5% in the morning, yet the run continues. No doubt it's become a penny stock. It's corrected significantly. The Lavasa overhang always remains on the counter. Debt issues are there, but is there more on this counter? Can this stock rally even further? We'll ask our guest. Ritesh, I'll start with you. If someone wants to take a position in HCC, would you recommend that?
Definitely at this point, not. Okay. Because the counter has moved from 11.5 or 12 to 15 in just a shorter span of time. The big negative portion on this fundamental is it was in profit-making company to become in loss-making. 14.5 crore, it was a profit last year. This year they have reported 19 crores of loss. So that is not something comfortable in terms of the perspective of the company. Simultaneously, interest expenses, overall expenses in this, interest expenses has also increased drastically. This is also not something digestible in terms of fundamental perspective. Simultaneously, the company has looking forward, which is impacting to overall real estate segment in terms of RERA norms, in terms of deployment of cash flow, in terms of declaration of the promoters, declaration of the last 5 years project and the ongoing project, and they have to keep surplus amount of cash flow as per the RERA norms, which is definitely affected to the industry as a while, but something is not digested to me in terms of profit-making company to become loss-making only because of RERA. So I personally feel it is not a right time to get entered in this particular stock. There are many sector of the stock wherein you can get into for the better return.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that, which probably is thing. But Vineet, your opening take on HCC, should someone even venture any kind of money into HCC?
Not really, because Lavasa is a big overhang, number one. Number two is that they're in a very tight spot, so while they have managed their business well, they got orders in sling, but managing the interest component is becoming extremely challenging. So I think given all these peer pressures and overhang, I think there are much better bets. So like Dilip Buildcon is, diversify very well from roads. They're getting into other projects. So these kind of stocks which have demonstrated growth and are performing well become far better plays than having to.
Are you bullish on Dilip Buildcon as such? What do you like in Dilip Buildcon? Because there was a little bit of issue that came in, the counter corrected significantly.
Yeah,
are those issues justified in terms of?
So we were bearish earlier. Okay, but now when the counter has corrected significantly, and if you see news flow on new order coming in from diversified sectoral areas is good for the stock. So it is moving, metamorphing from being only a road play to other areas. So I think that's a positive for the stock.
And on HCC, is there any trigger that probably could rise? See, it's rallied 25%. So there has to be some news, or probably we don't know. But are there any triggers for HCC if someone wants to hold even for the long term, that or it would be a complete avoid?
There's too much risk, and I was very optimistic on the stock 3 to 4 years back, and we went and met the management a couple of times. But Lavasa is a no-go. And then you had that entire working capital and cash flow management issues. They were supposed to get some funding from that. A couple year back there was that restatement of where the government was supposed to give them their pending dues. None of that is coming through. So the only trigger would be if they get some of the dues which are due to them, which are legally theirs. If that were to come through, if any judgment comes, then that could be the trigger in the stock.
Okay. Ritesh, you were saying there are other stocks that you believe could be a better play in this segment. Which one are you referring to?
If in this the same segment, if you wanted to go for the better stock, I think the IRB is going to be a strongest bet.
Okay.
In terms of toll income, it is almost growing by 50% on year-on-year basis. Simultaneously, order book value has also surpassing 14,000 crore, which is quite huge. Simultaneously, recently they got 3 new projects, so that is also add value to their profit margins. Okay. In terms of profit margins, order book value, price to book value, I think fundamental point of view, this is much better counter compared to HCC if I compare. But I'm still interested in terms of getting into this particular segment as an infra. Then IRB infra is going to be one of the strongest bet.
Okay, that's the view. So HCC is a complete avoid by both of our guests. Dilip Pilcon as well as IRB infra is something that you need to watch out for if you want to play the infra theme. The next stock or the sector we want to talk about is basically the pharma sector. It's been doing well of late. Couple of counters, like DVs and all, they're trading at record highs. Sun Pharma's had a rally. Dr. Reddy's has recovered from the lows of what we've seen. But is the rally here to stay? If someone wants to take any kind of exposure to the pharma sector, which stock should he take? So, Ritesh, I'll start with you. You've spoken about Torrent as your mid-cap pick, but apart from it on the pharma segment, which stock do you like?
Sun Pharma is going to be my strong bet. As I said, the overall pharma will be benefited. Sun Pharma is among the 5th largest pharma company in the world. Simultaneously, if you look at his portfolio, the 70% they are into the export business, or rather medicine business, and 30% is the domestic. In terms of domestic also, the growth rate is running at around 10% on year-on-year basis. That is also fantastic. If you look at overall worldwide, the pharma industry is growing at around 14.5%, wherein Sun Pharma is growing at around 18%. So they are performing better compared to the industry benchmark or the world benchmark. Simultaneously, in terms of US sales, what we are talking about it, I am personally expecting US sales in terms of 18-19, it will be grown by almost 17 to 20% this year. Okay. So if the sales numbers are increasing, then it is a better benefit in terms of order price to book value, order value, and simultaneously the profit margin of the company, which is running at around 23% overall. So Sun Pharma, and simultaneously they are very strong in terms of generic companies. Okay. So generic is going to be a next theme for next 3 years. So I personally feel Sun Pharma is also one of the strong bet in the pharma sector. Okay, Sun Pharma is the strong bet. I'll come back to you on this. Vineet, on the pharma space, which stock do you like?
I will stick with Suven.
Suven, okay. I'll come back to you on another stock, but in Sun Pharma, a couple of things that I wanted to bring out. Taro isn't working for them. It's not done well for the past few quarters. That's a big contributor to the US business. So, and there is enough pressure points on the generic side of the business. So, will that not affect the US business?
See, if you look at the overall generic side of business in the total income, it is not more than 17 to 18% as of now. This is what we are expecting. It is going to be contributed more, and simultaneously around 36 approvals are pending. So if the 36 approvals will be approved by US FDA, so you understand what level of new orders and what level of the new sales is going to increase, and it will add value to the profit margins. Not I'm talking about Sun Pharma per se. As I said, we are projecting how the US economy will grow in terms of overall sales in the pharma segment. So if you are expecting 17 to 18% sales number will grow, then definitely the Sun Pharma is going to be benefited more.
The problem there is that growth will come in, but they are trying for more if you look at the comments that the US FDA commissioner is saying, they are saying that they want more generics to come in. So that means obviously Sun Pharma is a generic, but price pressure will obviously come in, price will be cut and there will be more cuts. So the golden days probably won't come back for Sun Pharma.
Definitely, it is not only for Sun Pharma, it is overall for the industry per se, because this is a transformation of the medicines from the branded to become an generic portion. But the biggest benefit what Sun Pharma will get it is a first mover advantage, which other have not even started yet, or rather the contribution is quite low. So looking at that aspect also, no doubt it will be affected to the profit margin, but it will be all about the volume game.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in. Vineet, I believe I spoke to you about Jyothy Labs something. I believe you had a view on Jyothy Labs, if you can say. You've already said that pharma, but just an offshoot of pharma consumer. What's your view on Jyothy Labs?
We are very positive.
Why?
So you've taken they did a leverage buyout. They built it out into a very good business. They capitalized on the distribution network, and now they're seeing a lot of cash flows coming through. Now they're taking a couple of more actions in the sense that they've reduced the dividend payout so that they can build a war chest for another acquisition, which they've announced. And despite weak results for Q1, they've upped their guidance for growth. So they're talking of 15% volume growth, plus we are looking at a little bit of margin expansion. And I think over the next 3-4 years, cash flows are going to be very strong, and that they want to deploy into the next level of growth. So the business, that if they can get a business at a lower valuation, it will obviously be a value accretive.
Will acquisition only be the way ahead for Jyothy Labs? Will their base business grow?
So the base business continues to grow. It's doing very well. It's at the threshold point. So there were a couple of products they've launched, T-Shine, and they're doing some innovation on the Maxo liquid. So together, I think they are looking at doing about 250 crores of business from that. So on this base of their business, it's going to be a significant upside. And if you see all their businesses, if you leave out Ujala, are growing at a healthy high teens kind of growth rate. So they are number 2, number 3. Still they are small compared to a Wimbar or maybe the other Harpic or whatever. And I think they have got huge growth prospects going ahead. So the company will continue to grow, and when you look at the entire bunch of FMCG stocks, I think this company has got room for growth. They've got the appetite now to take on a new business. So I think there could be some surprising elements out here. So,
and valuation wise, how is it compared to other
So
FMCG?
It's not a cheap stock. It's along with the Jingbang, it's around 40 times. But I think the growth prospects are, and we are quite buoyant about the acquisition that they want to do. So we are quite bullish on that.
Okay, that's the view that's coming in on the pseudo-pharma stocks that we are talking about. And lastly, we want to talk about, since the Nifty is trading at record highs and not all stocks have participated, some of them have actually gone up significantly, where valuations have actually gone through the roof. So we're asking our guest, is there some stock that you should avoid, or probably we're asking them straight, is there some F&O stock that probably should be shorted at this point of time because it's run up too well, the valuations don't match the financials, or any other concerns that they have? We're asking our guys. So Vineet, which stock do you believe that could drop now?
I think it would be Jet Airways.
Okay.
So Iraq is going to bite. When the sanctions go up, so the price of the oil will go up, and they are the worst performing among the 3 players. They have not been able to contain costs, and they went to the Middle East. There also our LCCs have gone. Domestic, they're finding themselves squeezed out. They're losing margins in LCC, and now they want to go into other areas like tie-ups for European forays. And there's too much of again corporate governance issues around there. So if any of that were to balloon out, I think this stock will take a hit.
But it's already down 50% from the highs. It's in the last 12 years, it's down. In the last 6 months, it's down 60%. So isn't all the concerns now priced into Jet Airways?
That is what you would think, but I think there would be a lot more skeletons which would come out of the cupboard, given the fact that the audit committee has held back on the release of the results. So I think there are negatives, and in an uncertain scenario, I think stocks which are doing badly do even more badly, which has been the case now.
So I'm just taking the case here. If you see, there are 2 scenarios. Either you have so I'm just trying to understand, you have a negative view on the entire aviation space, or would this mean that you should take positions in SpiceJet and Indigo, which will benefit because of issues in Jet?
So there are a couple of things. One is that we have 565 aircraft, and we are adding 100 more delivery we are taking. Okay, so your capacity is growing 18%. Okay, although demand is there, but the capacity is keeping pace with the demand, and we are not able to get the yields out there. So when the largest players are struggling, the guys who have seen the highest cost inflation like jet will obviously do worse, right? So while that sector is, in my opinion, a trading play, and it should be purely timed with the ATF prices. So if you have crude oil going up, you short the stocks, and if crude oil is going down, then you buy this sector. So it's a pure trading play because the demand is already there, right? So given that, I think among the three, jet is the worst. You have got issues around corporate governance, you have got issues around cost, you have got issues around debt. Okay, so all these three things I think are tell me that things can get a lot more worse than getting better.
And which is the best play among the other two? Which one would be a better pick?
I would go with Spice because they've got very high PLF factor. They've also grown a little bit of yields. So in this kind of environment, they are doing quite nicely.
Okay, so Jet Airways is a stock that Vineet believes probably should be shorted or probably doesn't have the potential to go in even higher. But Ritesh, which stock do you think that has peaked out now?
See, basically, if you look at overall the crude price, the way it is increasing, and it is a big concern for oil and marketing company. So I personally quite negative in terms of oil and marketing company per se.
Okay.
In this particular segment, I'm quite bearish in terms of IOC.
Okay.
The reason is very clear. I'm not comfortable in terms of the debt numbers are increasing. It was earlier 34.5%, 34.5 billion. It has increased to 44 billion. So in terms of the debt is increasing, it is not a comfortable. Simultaneously, there is an GMR margins has also declining because of the input and output, and because of the raw material like crude oil is becoming expensive. There is a price is also restricted by the government in terms of pass back to the customer for this matter. So company has to take a setback of the crude oil prices is increasing. So I personally feel in terms of margins are decreasing, GMR is also decreasing, and the company is also creating lot of more debts rather than controlling. So I'm not comfortable, and I feel oil and marketing companies is going to be a big hit because of the crude oil.
Okay, and so that means that you are negative on the three oil marketing companies.
Yes, BPCL, HPCL is also going to hit, but IOC is going to be more hit because of the fundamentals are quite poor and the margin is also lower side.
And the valuations among all three, how does that stack up?
See, in terms of valuation, the way the oil and marketing companies has grown in last 3 years of time, if you compare the bull run rally in oil and marketing company started in 2014, followed by IOC, BPCL and HPCL. IOC will be any which was it was a front runner, but now the situation and the scenario has got changed because of the crude oil price is increasing. So in terms of valuation, nothing to be considered right now till the time the debts are not under control and the crude price is also not under control.
Okay, so that's the view that's coming in. Aviation and OMCs pretty much seem to be the stocks that our guests believe that probably won't go up. Probably there is more potential for these sectors and these stocks to go down. In particular, Jet Airways and IOC. But we'll wrap hot money on this end. Vineet, thank you so much for coming here. Ritesh, thank you so much for coming in. But we have a special package. We end this wheel with Kerala, where it's heartening to see so many volunteers stepping in and trying to help out what will be a Herculean task to get the state back on its feet. We spoke to some of the volunteers on the ground, and here is what they had to say.
We have things like shelter boxes and all, which is designed by Rotary International. Already one consignment of 200 shelter boxes have been shipped from Calcutta. These are very sturdy boxes which contain everything that one household may require to start their life there. Things like a tarpaulin, tent, mosquito net, containers, locks, everything in one big metal trunk, So it's a long-term plan which we have, and we are going to sit with the administration also maybe in a couple of days' time.
The rain stopped, where people trying to go back to the houses, where they found that no sewage has mixed with the drinking water because of the stagnant of water, maybe malaria, all kind of dengue, all kind of such diseases. Maybe we have to be proactive.
We are looking for chlorination tablets, for instance, to purify water. Because a lot of the wells in all of these places have been entirely contaminated. So before we can use any of this water, we can't keep depending on people sending in bottled water from places. So when we start using well water, we want to be completely sure that it is safe. We're also looking to clean these places completely. In fact, volunteers have been signing up to clean these houses and areas thoroughly before we allow people to go back home.
.6 million people are now in the relief camps. There are around 3,446 relief camps across the state because their houses have been completely destroyed and the roads are completely devastated. We have to first concentrate on rebuilding the homes, that too disaster-resistant homes we are thinking of rebuilding, and then only we will be able to shift them back to safety.
Brought Kochi back to the air map. A lot of hard work has gone in by all the stakeholders, whether you call it the state administration, the Cochin municipality, then AAI people came, the CISF, the Air India people, all the flights which we can accommodate, that is, the size of the aircraft cannot be more than a Boeing 737 because of the restricted length of the runway at Kochi. So the only problem which we are facing is the runway shortage and all the infrastructure for handling passengers. But in emergency, it is being done.